Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. So today we continue to study about the Four Noble Truths. That's the first ever teaching that Buddha gave to the first 5 months, and we have discussed about the first trees, and we still continue to discuss about the fourth one, the way how to end suffering, and that include the four paths, and we have here the wise understanding, wise views, to have the right views about the law of karma, the three characteristics of the system, and we talk about the wise intentions or right intention. So they belong to the wisdom categories. So that's why the Buddha mentioned that we need to rectify or change our views, change our intention, so that we can bring the happiness for ourselves and others. If we don't change our views, if we don't have right intentions, it's not easy for us to bring our own happiness and peacefulness for ourselves and others. So again, in the right views, Buddha reminds us that we need to recognize the law of karma. So if we want to have peace and happiness, we need to create peace and happiness for ourselves and others. And if we recognize these three characteristics: existence, impermanence, sufferings, and non-self, it's easy for us to let go of our attachment and work for others, such as this. That is the right views or understanding. And last time we discussed right intention. That's so important that we need to have those things. The intention of renunciation, including forgiveness, intention of having patience with other people and ourselves, intention of having generosity, to be generous with other people, intention to have loving kindness, compassion, goodwill, friendliness. So that's the right intention. Without this right intention, it's not easy for us to bring the peace and happiness for ourselves. So, because we know we contribute our own peace and happiness as well as to other people. So that's why we need to rectify, correct our views, our intentions, so that we could bring those peacefulness, happiness to ourselves and others. So, for example, if we want other people to forgive us, we need to forgive other people. If we want people being generous to us, we need to be generous to others. If we want other people to care for us, if we want other people to spread their compassion to us, we need to do so. So without having this type of right intentions, it's not easy for us to develop peace and happiness for ourselves. And so if we expect the good things that will happen to us, but we create bad karma, we have, let's say, wrong intention, like having hatred thought, or angry thoughts, or jealousy, and so forth. there's no way for us to bring the happiness for ourselves. So that's why these are the right intentions that we should initiate and develop so that we can bring the happiness for ourselves and others. So most of the times, as human, we expect other people to care for us. We expect other people to be nice, to be compassionate toward us before we be nice. We're compassionate toward others. But in Buddhist view, we need to reverse the path. That means we need to initiate this type of right intentions, so that we can bring peace and happiness for ourselves and others. So that's why it's so important for us to have this kind of intention. Now, let me put it this way. The mind is considered as the driver. The body and speech is like the cars. So it's up to the drivers to drive the car in any directions, left, right, back and forth. So of course, if we have the new cars, it's easy for us to maneuver around. But even if we have old cars, but we have the skill in driving, we drive more safely. But if we have the new cars, but we don't know how to drive, we may hit the trees, we may hit other people, we may endanger our life and others. So that's why we need to have right mindset for ourselves. Without having right mindset, it's not easy for us to bring peace and happiness for ourselves. So, for example, if we have some conflicts with other people, whether it's their friends, family members, and so forth, but if we have the thought of forgiveness, if we have the thought of loving and kindness, of caring for them, we may transform that conflict. We may transform that person from being an enemies into friends. But if we have the wrong mindset, even sometimes our best friends can be turned to our own enemies. For example, if we take advantage on our friends, if we harbor the angry thought, the jealousy thought toward our close friends, and eventually they may lose their patience and stay away from us. Not talking about being enemies on our past. So that's why mindset is so important for us to set in the proper way. So no matter what happening, that's a good reminder that we need to have right mindset. So again, uh, with the understanding of karmas, that we all want to have peace and happiness. That's why we initiate or develop the right intention that we want to help others, that we want to spread peace, that we want to spread loving kindness and compassion toward all the people. And eventually we will receive the things that we put out there. So that's why they work hands in hands together. So again, here in this church, as much as we have the renunciation, patience, and generosity, it will help us to be free from loss. When we give out, we would not have any kind of craving to attach to things for ourselves. And if we have patience, we could develop that type of generosity to be helpful to other people. We would let go of renunciation, let go of any attachment that we may have for ourselves. And when we have loving kindness, goodwill, friendliness, metta, we will be free from ill will. from hatred, from anger. So when we have compassion, harmlessness, non-injury, that's karuna in sacred terms, we be free from cruelty. So with this kind of primary setting, it will help us to work on the course of the holy lives, a proper life, happy lives. And so that is why it is so important. So we see that these are mm, mm, based on the understanding of life that could strengthen our right views of life. And that's why we can change the course of our life as well as other people. So again, with the combination of right views of life and right intentions, we rectify our mind in the proper way, and definitely that is a way we can bring the peace and happiness for ourselves and others. So again, the mind is like the drivers. So if we have the proper mind, so we would lead our life in the proper ways. So with that kind of right mindset, of right understanding and right intention, um, those thoughts will affect to our speech, um, to our verbal expression, and later on to our action. So that's why the next things the Buddha reminds us in this Eightfold Path is the wise speech or right speech. So without right understanding of life, without right intention, it's not easy for us to have right speech. So the speech will control by the right mind, the right intentions, the right thoughts. So that's why if we have compassion, we would express ourselves in a compassionate way. If we have the hatred thought, we would express ourselves in the angry way. If we stingy, we would express ourselves that we don't want to share with other people. So that's why the Buddha reminds us that we need to cultivate that type of right understanding of life and right intention first before we move on to the next one, right speech. So again, due to our understanding of life, that everyone wants to live, no one wants to die, everyone wants to be cared of, everyone wants outgrow uh, mm, spread the loving kindness and compassion. So that's why for us we need to spread that kind of loving kindness and compassion. And through our speech, people could understand how we express ourselves. And again, the language is a form of communication among ourselves. And of course, as human, due to uh, our abilities of developing languages, we could communicate with our people properly and effectively. Without the language, of course, we can use the sign language, but with that type of sign language, there's all kind of limitation. That's why um, since ancient times, we developed certain types of languages so that we can communicate with each other. So in uh, this world, yeah, we have hundreds of languages, and of course, each country or each um, uh, area or regions has its own language uh, for people to communicate with each other. So language is so important that when we uh, express ourselves with certain types of vocabularies, a sentence. People could understand our feelings, but still, according to uh, science, uh, within a minute, we have from 1200 to 1500 thoughts in our mind. Mm. But the language or the words that we express ourselves is much lesser than that. So uh, when we want to describe some items, yes, of course, because of convenience of language, we name that items. For example, we name a box as a box. We name something like computer, laptop, and so forth. With that type of convenience way for us to understand, it's easy for us to communicate with each other due to the convenience of the language. But if we don't know how to use the language in the proper ways, we bring the sufferings to ourselves and others. So that's why at first the Buddha reminds us that we need to have the proper intention. With that proper intention, would help us have proper speech. Otherwise, we may misuse or even abuse the language when we communicate with other people, especially when we have so much anger, jealousy, uh, and so forth toward other people. So that's why here the Buddha says we need to restrain ourselves uh, from truthfulness. That means when we speak, we need to speak the right way. We need to speak the truth so that other people could trust us. Uh, and we need to restrain ourselves from lying, from exaggeration, omission. So whichever thing we see, we hear, and so forth, we need to use that types of language, whether in English, Vietnamese, Chinese, and so forth, to express ourselves, to express our understanding, to express our view about those things in the proper way. So it's the damaging if we try to say lie, if we try to cheat other people. Again, in most of human society, cheating other people online uh, generally uh, is unacceptable, regardless of the custom of the communities that we live in. So, for example, if an employee tell lie to the boss, manager, and supervisor, so there is a distrust between that employees and their uh, boss as the firm. So definitely soon later, if they cannot trust each other, the um, manager or supervisor may let that employees go because they could not trust that person anymore. So in Buddhist view, um, with the verbal expression, we need to express ourselves in the proper way so that other people can trust us. Whichever thing we say, uh, we talk about the truth. We don't manipulate. We don't exaggerate the situations. We don't add on or subtract out the informations. So that is so important for other people to trust us, whichever we say. But if we tell lie, most of the time, there's no ways for other people to trust ourselves. And especially when we deal with politics, even sometimes business, right? In that types of professions, somehow it's not easy for us to trust them. Let me show you some video clips about how passport art may not be as described in reality. So here, this gentleman, he went to some fast food restaurant and ordered some hamburger and so forth, and compare with the ad that they put online there. So let me show you this video clips.
It's way better in the ad than it does in reality. We're going to do a little experiment with a hidden camera to see if we can get them to make the food look exactly like it does in the pictures. Let's see how this goes. I'm just getting a Big Mac today. His name is Greg. It doesn't look quite as pretty. I'm looking at this picture of the Big Mac, and it looks kind of sad and dry. And can you make one that looks like the picture? Okay, great. Thanks very much. You like that? You ever hear people ask for that before? Okay, great. Thank you. Oh, look at that. See, that's a little better, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you very much for the feedback.
I appreciate it. Thank you. How you doing? I'm gonna go for a bacon cheeseburger deluxe. All right. Okay, so this is the bacon cheeseburger deluxe. Let's see how this thing compares. Let's see if we can get them to match that. This looks kind of scrawny compared to this, especially for the bacon.
Yeah, we just follow the rules. Some of the pictures they have the first of all with me.
Can you make this so that it looks like the picture for me? All right. Let's see if they can actually make it look like the picture. This one's a little challenging. I'm excited. Here we go.
Yeah.
That's good. Looks like a burger to eat. I'll go for 2 tacos for 99 cents. Thanks. That is a deal. Great. Thank you. All right. Let's see what these things look like. Oh boy. I was in the mood for some tacos, and I looked on your website, and you have these really great looking tacos, but then in reality, they kind of look like this. It's very different. Can you make them look like that? Oh, great. Thank you. Look what you did. You made them look like the picture. That's for you. I'm going to go for a half-pound double with cheese. Appreciate it. It's not quite as attractive as the picture. I was just looking at this. Sort of like not very high and kind of flat and not very attractive. Can you make one that looks like the picture? Thanks. A beautiful burger for me? Thank you so much. And check it out. I'm excited. That's much better. I bet this happens all the time, people.
So anyway, so this gentleman, he went around and checked out whether those fast food restaurants sell the product according to the advertisement, but most of the time they fail. That's why he tests out and requests them to change for better. Of course, they follow that. But anyway, so again, in business, somehow people put the ad and they may exaggerate their products, but somehow when the customer receive the product, those products they may not be as the same as the way they advertise. So that is the kind of cheating too. Of course, from human to human, from person to person, like I mentioned recently, the trust is so important that when we say something, in order to be solid, we need to say the truth so that people know with everything we say out loud will be trustful. so they can trust us. Otherwise, if we say something that somehow they may say that there's no way for us to trust us. Again, um, in order to do business with each other, in order to communicate with each other, so we need to say the truth so that people can trust us. Otherwise, there's no way. So actually, there's many people around the world, and if they don't know how to uh, mm, deal with other people, and if they just use the untruthful words, there's no way for other people to trust them. So even the people in the high office, like the president, if they say something is truthful, right, it's not easy for people to trust him anymore. So here, President Trump, he make about 18,000 false misleading claims in his 1,170 days in office. This is since April, and of course they add more. And the fact checker that check on how president express himself in a proper way or not. Again, if someone with that position as president, and if they make all kind of false and misleading claims, definitely there's no way for the people to trust him anymore. Of course, he has a reason to have those false and misleading claims, but as a politician, as a leader, we need to recognize how important these words are. So in one particular clip, Dr. Pugh, he offered some ways for us to catch a liar. So let me show you.
To catch a liar. Dr. Phil, the human lie detector, is here with some tricks of his trade that we can all use. Good morning, Dr. Phil.
Good morning. You know, people lie a lot, so you got to be on your toes.
All right. So are all lies bad, though? Isn't it okay to tell people a lie?
Listen, when you look at the research, you got to look at what people define as a lie. The most dangerous lie and the most difficult one to spot, for example, is the lie by omission. When you leave out a material fact, that's a lie just as big as anything you could say that's wrong.
There are some myths, you say, regarding catching a liar. What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, first off, there are a lot of myths out there. People talk about you look up to your left because that's where you do invention and construction. Frankly, those things really don't bear out. I mean, the research just doesn't support that. What you can do, and I think it's very important, is to remember that, number one, sometimes you've almost got to help a liar by being in denial. I mean, come on, you got to tune in and trust your gut instincts. And you also have to pay attention to just the common sense of whether something is lining up and making sense. If you want to know if you're getting the truth, ask specific questions, for example. Well, if you want to know whether if your kid was smoking dope, for example, then you need to specifically ask, are you now or have you ever done that? Don't just say, what do you think about it? You don't be general, you be very specific.
And you say if that doesn't work, you should change the subject?
It's interesting. You got to do what we call baselining. You talk to somebody and see how they're behaving. Change to a safe subject, and if they become more fluid in their motions, if their breathing gets more regular, then all of a sudden, wait a minute, they were aroused when I was talking about that, and that's what a polygraph operator picks up on. When you ask somebody something and they lie, their blood pressure goes up, their heart rate goes up, their respiration gets slow. Liars often breathe through their mouths. They purse their lips because they need more oxygen because they're in arousal. So pay attention. If you change the subject and they get more relaxed, they get more fluid in their emotions, and you go back to the subject and all of a sudden they stiffen up, they start breathing, they color up, then you know, okay, they're aroused here, they're hiding something.
Never would have thought of that one. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Then you say, look for clarity.
Listen, clarity is important. When people are telling you the truth, they'll look you in the eye, not too much or looking away, they'll look you in the eye, and they'll tell you the truth. But when people are lying, they get over emphatic. For example, I did not do this. We heard that.
I did not have sex with that.
Well, I was going to let you say that, but that's exactly right. They're over emphatic, and they won't realize that. They'll oftentimes they won't use contractions. They'll say, if they're not lying, they'll say, I wasn't there. But if they're lying, they'll say, I was not there. So listen, if they get more emphatic and drop contractions, they don't like using personal pronouns, I, me, because they don't want to own the lie. So they'll try to use intransitive verbs and just kind of put it off like, oh, it didn't happen, instead of I didn't go there.
And are they repetitive?
They are repetitive. Oftentimes a liar, because they don't want to go too far afield, will repeat your question back to you. They'll say, did you drive over there last night? I did not drive over there last night. They'll repeat it back to you. And liars are often too rehearsed. They've got a story, and they'll repeat key phrases over and over and over across time. It's really common sense. If you dial into this, trust your gut instincts. Don't worry about all of these myths. Look at things like eye contact. Do their pupils contract? What's their breathing like? Do they behave differently when you're on a safe subject? It's not that hard. Moms are really good at the kids. You guys are betazoids. You guys just figure it out.
So anyway, so these are the hints, the tips that Dr. Pugh provide for us to recognize the liars, to pick up someone that lied to us. So again, when we recognize those people that lie to us, that there's no way for us to trust them anymore. So that's why we need to recognize as much as we lie, that there's no way for other people to trust us. So we need to be careful of the words that we express ourselves to see whether that's true or not. So here, you say that the meanings of lying: untruthful, dishonest, false, deceitful, disingenuous. So there's a lot of different words used to express what lies could mean. And so anyway, that's mean they don't speak the truth. And there's some reason why people lie. So the first one, take what is not rightful of them. That means if they take something, if they steal from other people, properties, possessions, so they may lie to order that, oh, I don't take that items and so forth. Escape, accountability, that means they don't take any responsibilities of their work. For example, if they break a computer, right, and somehow if someone in the household and the family asks them whether they break their computer or not, they say no, I don't. That means they escape from being responsible for any mistake that they have. A great tendency, a poor self-esteem, to escape reality again. They would create some stories that boost up their self-esteem, their ego, so that they could escape from that kind of responsibility. So let's say, oh, I'm a engineer. I make $100,000 per year. How could I steal a couple dollars on the table, for example? And number four, avoid punishment. That is the reason why they tell lie. They don't want to be punished. They don't want to pay for the price if they make the mistake of stealing stuff, of breaking stuff, or of having some affair with other people out of their marriage and so forth. So again, that is one reason why they have lied. And the people that they want to inflict the pain on others. That's why they make the false accusation, untrue story, so that other people could not trust those people. So that's why they want to bring disaster, problems to others. When we make up that type of story, for example, they make up a story that, oh, that person smoked weed, gamblings, and so forth, but in reality they would not. So with that type of intention, they inflict pain and suffering on others. And number six, feel better in the moment, still the admiration. So they may make up the story, oh, I have done this, I have done that, I developed this invention, I write this story, books, and so forth, so that other people would admire them, so that people would respect them. And that's why they want to make that type of statement. Oh, I'm the only one that can change the world. Because of me, other people are so successful, other people are so happy, and so forth. And number seven, again, an advantage to explore others. So again, they may tell lie. For example, an employees may create the full story about their co-workers. For example, they may say, oh, my co-worker is so lazy. He doesn't do much. I do all the jobs. I fix all the machines, but he stay back and so forth. So he tried to demote or put down his co-workers. In the meantime, he tried to gain the respect and admiration from his employers or supervisor. So again, these are the general list of reason why people tell lies. So let us watch this clip one more time. So basically, there's probably thousands of reasons why people tell lies, but somehow we can sum up about this type of basic.
These apply to you. There's been a lot of research about why people lie. I mean, everybody lies. I mean, you know, like, does this dress make me look fat? No. You know, white lies, but then there are more difficult lies. Number one, people take what is not rightfully theirs. They do it to get something that isn't theirs. And there's a sense of entitlement. It's like,
okay, so these are the points. Yeah, these are that we have discussed recently. And of course, sometimes we say, oh, I kept a white lie. That's not much serious. Or I kept a job. So that people can uplift their spirit, their mind. It would not be hurtful. But of course, the more we say, the more reputation we may have. That means we may create a habit of telling lies. So eventually, whichever thing come into our mind, we would twist that story around. We would fabricate that story so that our people could respect us, other people could admire us, or we may make up that some story that may be harmful to our opponents, especially in politics. So that's why the Buddha said, in order to reduce the degree of suffering, we need to tell the truth. If we don't understand about the reality of life, if we don't recognize how much suffering we may create if we tell lie, again, we may bring the disaster to ourselves and others. So that's why in this charge, the Buddha say that we need to say the truth, to stay away from lying, to stay away from fabricating the stories, or exaggerating the story, or even omission of some part of the story. So that's why, as a scholar or even the journalist that write stories for the newspaper, or the scholar write articles for any kind of journals, they need to write according to the facts, not according to the speculation. So that's why in life it's so important for us to create that kind of trust each other. Without trust, there's no way for us to work together. That's why we need to remind ourselves, whether we want to bring the happiness and peacefulness for ourselves and others or not. If we want, so no lying, this means restraint from lying is one of the important factors in our life when we communicate, socialize with other people verbally. And so with that kind of understanding, we would use the proper words so that we can bring the peace and happiness for others. Otherwise, again, if we misuse the words or language when we communicate or interact with other people, we would bring a lot of suffering for ourselves and others. Especially, we fabricate a story, manipulate the stories in our views, so that other people can be hurtful and harmful. Definitely, at that moment, the moment that we tell lie to them, it won't be hurt to us, but may affect to other people negatively. But later on, they find out that we cheat them, we lie to them. Definitely, there's no way for them to trust us anymore. There's no way for us. There's no way for them that want to work together with us or to hire us to work. So again, with this kind of verbal expression, we need to be careful how we express ourselves in the proper way, in the meaningful way, in a compassionate way. Otherwise, we create the chaos and problems and sufferings to ourselves and others. So since time is up, let me stop here today, and next time we can discuss further about this right speech. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha.